Hello, this is Mr. Marsh, and I'm going to walk you through how to prepare yourself for the application for induction into the National Honor Society. So I'm looking at the Schoology page, and on the Schoology page, I see where this says resources. So I'm going to click on that, and I see that there are these three folders, and the first one reads instructions and application. Second one reads reference forms and links, and lastly, it reads application tracker. So I'm going to start here where it says instructions and application. So what I have here is I have an instruction on a PDF for you. And then underneath there's a Google form, which is what you will complete. And there's also frequently asked questions that I get. And so I try to answer them ahead of time. But if you still have more questions, even after watching this video, feel free to just simply send me a message through Schoology and I'll get back to you. So when I click on this PDF, it's going to look like this. I actually have it already open. So let's go here. So here are the instructions for applying for induction. I got there eventually. So first thing I wanted to bold here for you is that the application is due Thursday, September 30th by 3 p.m. I will not accept anything late after 3 p.m. It's a very famous story of someone who turned it in, a very good candidate for NHS, and turned it in at 3:05. And the selection committee did not even consider his application because it came in late. So you're considered the best of the best. And so they have high expectations for you to hold to deadlines. And so just mark it on your calendar, the 30th of September, 3 p.m., everything has to be in. It's your responsibility to ensure that all the references and forms have been submitted because you only control really your application. And then once you send out 5 references, you got to keep checking up on making sure those people have turned those things in. And so you don't want to wait to the last minute and realize that one of your teachers or coaches hasn't turned the form in for you because that would affect your application. So it's up to you to make sure that you keep on top of all those references. So on down here, there's basically just a couple things that you have to do to apply for NHS at Lampeter Strasbourg. So the first one is your candidate application. It's on a Google form. All right. And so when you click on this thing, it's going to take you to the Google form, but it's best to prepare before you actually open up the Google form. So there are a couple things you want to make sure you can do. One is you want to make sure you have your specific applicant number. And that was listed on your original invitation letter. Let me show you what that looks like. I have a copy here. My daughter, who's in 4th grade, asked if she could be a member. So I said, sure. So here's hers. And so it has Dear Isla Harper Marsh. And then it basically explains to her that she should join the Schoology group. It also shows her that there are 3 things that she has to make sure she's ready for. One is that she has 30 hours of community service that are on file by the 30th of September. She wants to make sure that she has her 5 reference forms, 2 from classroom teachers and 3 from activities. That she wants to highlight and then submit. And lastly is her application. But the reason I brought this up is at the very back page of your invitation is here in bold is where your applicant number is. So she would be 2021-89. That would be her fake number. Nobody has that number, so that's why I used it. All right, so there you go. So that's the number that you're going to make sure you need. All right, let's go back to that application. So I have that. Your current unweighted GPA. You should be able to find that on PowerSchool. But if you don't, you can always go to guidance, and guidance will give you your unweighted GPA. The reason you were invited to the NHS is because you have a GPA unweighted of 3.7 or higher. And that's the reason why you have your initial invitation. Third thing is you want to make sure you have 30 hours of community service that are on record in the guidance office. And so they have to be in record by the 30th of September when you turn in your application. All right, so I know because of COVID last year, we had so many applicants who had trouble getting their hours, but they all did. So it's possible. So if you don't have your 30 hours yet, the summer is a great time to start working on that. Fourth is you're going to select 5 references. And so you want to make sure before you even begin your Google form that you know who those 5 references are going to be. And you have information on them, meaning you know their names, you have their contact information, either a phone number or an email address. And then lastly, and most importantly, is you have pre-written your 5 short explanations of why you chose those 2 classes or courses and why you chose those 3 activities. Your explanations can only be 2,000 characters at most for each one. So that means 2,000 times 5 because you have 5 short explanations. So I also added in some tips under the category of putting your best foot forward below to help explain what you should think about choosing as those 5 references. So those are all things you want to make sure that you are prepared for. And then you want to then have those 5 references chosen, and then we have to go into the process of actually then sending out evaluation forms to those people. All right, so let's just slow down a little bit. Let's take a look at the candidate application just so you understand. So if you clicked on this little Google form, it would take you to this Google form. Let's see if I can find it here. Here it is. Okay, so this is what it's going to look like. So it'll give you a place to actually put your name and your applicant number, which you got from your letter, your parents' names. Let me know whether you're in 12th or 11th grade, meaning you're going into the 11th or 12th grade, your unweighted GPA, and it's also going to ask you that you have completed at least 30 hours of community service, and it's on record and it's been verified by the guidance office. You've actually read the application for induction letter and you understand all the requirements. All right, that's important. We'll go back to that here in a second. And lastly, you understand the requirements of the application. Understand that it's your responsibility to make sure everything is in by the 30th of September. It goes on and it's going to ask you who your first teacher reference is going to be and then what course you took. And so if you took like Spanish and you have taken maybe Spanish 1 and 3 with Mrs. St. John, you can list both of those courses down if you'd like to. It doesn't matter. And then you're going to write a short 2,000 character limit explanation of why your work in this teacher's class demonstrates the other categories of being a member of the National Honor Society. We already know you're smart. Now you have an unweighted GPA of 3.7 or higher. What we want to know is what kind of leader are you? What about your character? What about your service within that particular class? So where did you show leadership? Where did you show your character? Where did you serve others in that particular class? And then you also check off, hey, I have personally either printed and handed or I've emailed the reference form, because there are different forms. You can either do a PDF, a Word document, or a Google form, which I'll show you here in a second. But I've taken care of that. I have handed it off. I've done my job. All right. And so you'll see a second place for your second teacher reference. And then there'll be a place for your activities. Now, activities can be a number of things. They could be scouting. They could be a church, youth group, or something you do at church. It could be your job. And you might be a great way of showing the leadership and character and service within your job. It could be a sport. It could be anything with music. So even though obviously chorus and band take place during school hours, music programs are considered activities. So that might be something you put in there. It could be a club that you're involved with. There's a number of possibilities. And a lot of kids will give me things both in school as well as outside of school. All right. Well, I'm going to come back to some recommendations for you, but I just want to kind of list that those primarily for you right now. And then here's the place for the name of your coach or your advisor, your employer, contact information, phone number or email address. I don't need both. And then once again, same question. How did you show leadership, character, and service specifically in this sport, club, activity, whatever it is? All right. And once again, you've personally either printed and handed it or emailed it, and you got the reference form to this person. You're going to see that 2 more times. And at the very end, you're just going to do your electronic signature, which is just our way of saying, hey, I affirm that this is all true. And I just simply type my name. And then you submit it and you're good. All right, let's go back to where I was, which I don't even know where I was. Here we are. All right, so you've done your part. Once you've done your part, then you've filled out your application. The other thing you have to make sure you do is you then choose your 5 references and you've sent out your evaluation forms. And so you're going to select 2 high school teachers who you've had in a class. You've had them specifically in a class. And then you're going to choose 3 other activities. And those are going to be your 5 references. And once again, if you're involved in any kind of high school music program, consider that teacher to be an activity, not a classroom teacher reference. Okay. So when you chose those 5, you have 3 different choices. You can then say, I'm going to send them the Google form links. And so if you click on the Google form link, it'll take you to a Google form. You can do a couple of things. You can just simply open up the Google form. I'll show you what it looks like. Yeah, Christmas music playing in the background. Anyway, so you could then, this is what it would look like, and you could then copy this and then send it to them. Another way of dealing with the same task, going back to that, is I could take this hyperlink here and I could right click it and I can copy it. And then once again, I can do it that way. So there's all kinds of ways of actually catching this Google link. And going back to the Schoology page, I'm all over the place. If I get out of this where I talked about instructions and application, go back to my resources, underneath reference formula and links, once again, I could then send this link to that teacher. Maybe that teacher doesn't want that. Maybe the teacher's like, look, can I just have it in paper form? I'm like, sure. I would just simply either open up the PDF and print it at school, or you can also send them a Word document. All teachers have Word on their computers, so you could just simply click this and send it to them through Schoology, and a teacher would be able to print that out. Teachers would probably appreciate if you print it out for them. So the less work they have to do, the happier they're going to be about filling things out for you. So if you print out the PDF for them, or if you print out the Word document for them, they would like that. The nice thing about the PDF, which some teachers might like, and I get some teachers who like this, they like about the PDF is that it's edible, which means it sounds like you're eating it, but what it means is that when they click on it and it opens up, they actually can write on it. They can highlight all their answers, and I actually give them instructions on how to actually edit it. And so I teach them how to do it. So some teachers like that. And so you can say, hey, I can send it to you in a PDF that you can write on. I can send you a Word document, which you can just simply physically write on with a pencil or a pen. Most teachers just like the Google form. It's fast, it's easy, it's very slick. So that's probably what most of your references are going to want. They'll say, look, just simply send me a Google form, I'll fill it out. So they like that. So those are your three options that you have. Contact the person, tell them that you respect them, that you would love their honest and positive opinion of you, and then say, would you be willing to give a few minutes of your time to fill out this reference for me? And then find out which form they want and then send it to them. All right, so you got to make sure you do that in early and plenty of time, so that way you're not chasing them down at the end of September because you're stressed that your application is going to be incomplete. All right, I'm going to pause my video and then restart a part 2 of this.